Hey there, everyone. This is Rambling Collector here, and I'm here
Hello.
with another author interview for all of you today, featuring one whose name you have seen across my channel if you've been following me for a while, R.I. Polsgrove, also known as River Polsgrove. And I figured it would be a fun time to just go ahead and finally interview with them to show you all why I get so hyped up about this author and why they have been a massive part of this channel for years now at this rate. So, River, care to introduce yourself?
Hello, my name is R.I. Polsgrove, but you can call me River. I am an independent author, and I've written too many books at this point. I'm almost embarrassed. So I've written a lot of books and only two books in the main series because my brain is just like, okay, so we have this, character. Now this character needs a backstory. Now this character has now this book has side characters that also need backstories. So then it became a tangent. Then it became a big tangent, and it became this month. So
Yes.
there's that. There's my introduction.
Yeah, and let's first go ahead and talk about English vampires real fast because this, I believe, is your first omnibus collection that you have right now. Is that right?
Yeah. Yes, yes, it is.
Yes. And for those of you who follow this channel for a while, you'll
Oh, okay.
I
So,
have done a review of this work, but let's hear it from the author's mouth first.
okay. So the reason I kind of went with this giant thing is because my brain is weird. My writing process is also very, very weird in the sense that I am writing like multiple books at the same time. Um, and the reason I do that is because I am what you'd consider a combination of a pantser and a plotter, but I kind of lean more towards pantser. For those of you who don't know, that is author speak for when for like, there are some people who have to like plan out their story before. I am a combination of the two, but it's a little more unhinged than just sitting down and writing. It's more like driving down the highway, listening to music. Oh, I just got flooded with a lot of emotion and thoughts and a really vivid scene. Oh, I need to pull over and get this thing written down before it leaves, which I've had to do multiple times. Now, the problem is that sometimes these ideas that just come to me and hit me with a huge explosion of emotion. It's not exactly in the book that I'm working on. I don't get these ideas. I don't get these ideas in chronological order. Sometimes I start with the ending of a book and write backwards. Sometimes I get the idea for the middle of the book and I write, from the middle. But I mean, it does help having an ending in mind because that gives me like a way to like that gives me a goal to shoot for, and then so that means that everything that my characters do has a purpose driving us to the big conclusion. Now, I do have a really cool idea for the ending of the Dead Souls universe, at least this version. I have other ideas that might expand things, but we're not going to focus on that right now. I have the most beautiful ending for my main four characters: Quinn, Lucas, Rianne, and Natalie. It is in my head and it is so beautiful, and that is everything in these books is shooting towards that beautiful amazing ending.
Hmm.
Okay, back on topic to the English vampires.
Yes.
So
This
while
massive
I was writing,
book.
okay, so while I was writing, while I was writing Death to the Soul, I was also working on Quinn's backstory. I was doing both of these at the same time because I wanted to understand Quinn more. That's the other thing about writing is I view it very much as like it's a discovery process for me. It's not like I know these characters already. It's as I write, I learn about them. I understand them more. So while I was writing this, I was also writing this to kind of give me a better understanding of why Quinn was the way he was in this book. So as I was writing this book, I came up with some side characters, and one of them was Cora. Okay. Let me tell you about Cora. So one of the things I can't stand about a lot of like published works is how you will have the main characters who are the main characters, whatever. But then you have these side characters with these really intricate, interesting, amazing backstories, and they just get like a few paragraphs of exposition. I hate that. I hate that. I hate that. So I didn't want to do that. So I really cool. She has to save her brother Sam. So she kind of, she's like, okay, I will fight with the vampires, but we need to find a way to save my brother. So that's her thing. And I thought this was such a cool idea. I didn't want to just relegate it to a few chapters of exposition. You technically could read this and never read this and get a full and complete story. But if you want to get like a little more, if you want to go beyond just the, main things, we've got you covered. Um,
And
so there was at one point where I was working on Death and Soul, Quinn, and Cora all at the same time. That's another way I write so fast and get things out so quickly. But yes, what were you gonna say?
so funny thing is, I'm going to
Yes.
be completely honest with you here. When I first read Death
Hmm.
to the Soul, which by the way, love the new cover art from how it was originally. And for those of you wondering, I do have the original copy when it first came out. It's gone through quite a few changes over the years. But when I first read Death to the Soul, the funny thing is, I thought, okay, this is really cool. And then at the time, this was back when you had just the four books of Death to the Soul, Cora, Midnight Kiss, and Quinn that were out, right? Way back when, years ago.
Yes.
But one of the things I will say, Cora's backstory
Oh
is
my
what
God.
really hyped me up to read Quinn's backstory. So much so that I wound up reading Cora in one night and then finishing Quinn in about 2 days. And then when I finally got to see Cora
Oh my
again
God.
in Quinn's
Yeah.
backstory,
So like,
that's what really hyped me up to really want to keep going. But back then, you didn't have more.
oh yeah. So actually I don't remember the publishing order for Quinn and Cora. Let me see if because oh, I see. Okay, so I'm looking at my handy dandy list here. It looks like I published Cora before I published Quinn, but I started writing Quinn before I started writing Cora. So do you see that insanity? So I so of course after I get these two books written, it's like okay, so now I need I want there are a few more characters that I wanted to expand upon. So I wrote Lance and I wrote Max's backstory. And so suddenly I have all these separate pieces, these separate books, but they form one narrative and they were published in this crazy order, published written in this crazy order. A lot of my readers were getting confused. I was getting confused. So I was like, okay, I need to find a way to put all these in a cohesive narrative in an order that actually makes sense because they were not written in any order that makes sense. They were not published in any order that makes sense. So as a way to kind of rectify that, I put them in this bad boy. Now, oh my goodness. So here's the other thing about my books. Because I publish so many, because I publish so frequently, my books they can add up. They can get a little pricey. So in this book, you have Max, Lance, Cora, Midnight Kiss, and Quinn. And I did the math. If you were to purchase all of these books separately, that'd be about like $77. So another good thing about these, giant collections is this is going to save you a little bit of money because this is only like $50 on the Amazon shop. Okay. So this is only $50. Well, only $50. Goodness gracious. No, it's $50 as opposed to the $77. So it does give you a little bit of a discount on these one, two, three, four, five books. So basically, essentially, it's because there's five books in here, what you're really paying is like $10 a book. Because so
Yeah.
um
And
damn,
let me
that's
tell
actually
you,
a
as
good
someone who has
deal.
experience with buying a whole lot of books on Amazon,
Yeah.
but especially with, let me give you good context here. $50 may seem like a lot. That is true. But if you were to compare to some of the Warhammer novels that I've seen people charge on paperback, you have people who charge like $100 for a 300-page book. So $50 for a whole lot of stories all packed into
Wait,
the
what,
reader's
no,
order.
hold up. Wait, wait. Did you just say $100 for a 300-page book?
Yes, mainly that is due to how rare some of these
Did
paperbacks for Warhammer are,
oh.
but that's just the individual selling it at the same
Can
time.
I rant real quick?
We'll save that for another
Can I
day.
rant a little bit real? Oh, so it's not the publisher then.
No, that is
So
not the
that's not the publisher then.
that is the individual
That's
trying to sell it because of how rare it is.
okay. Okay. I was gonna be like, okay, sorry. No,
No, no, no.
I have a lot of feelings about authors and publishers who, I don't know, sometimes kind of, it feels like they try to nickel and dime their readers. They try to take advantage of their readers. And I mean, like, listen, we all have to make money, myself included. I really have to make money, but I also understand that I am an unknown self-published author. So, and here's the other things like, because I'm so unknown, because I'm self-published, I feel like I need to earn my place. And also like the imposter syndrome is not gonna like this, but my books are good. My books are good. My books are good. I swear to God, my books are good. So what I'm trying to do is I want to show people that my books are good. I want to have my books speak for themselves. So that's why I put Death to the Soul and A New Night up on Wattpad for free. Okay. It's a nice little sample, nice little introduction to the world, and two whole books for free because like I you have no reason to trust me. You have no reason to believe me when I say that my books are good, but you can go take a look and see for yourself. Okay. I do notice sometimes that a lot of authors, particularly independent authors, they'll do this thing where they'll have this beautiful marketing campaign and then they will sell you literal gibberish. Um, so Jonathan here is a really good friend of mine, and I remember I would hope he remembers when I came to him livid about I don't want to say the title of the book because I don't want to but
I do know some of the
there
books
was
that
this
you
book that
have
was like itty
recommended,
bitty.
and believe me, there were some books that I
No,
have
do you?
read.
Oh, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the book that outsold me at the thing that had the beautiful display with the sign, but it was like a teeny tiny book. Like it looked like it was like about as thick as Midnight Kiss. Midnight Kiss is very, very thin.
I do
Um,
remember that.
just on its own because it's a short story. But this lady, it was literal gibberish. And I sent this book to Jonathan and you saw that. You saw how bad this book was, and this is the book that outsold me. You know what I'm talking about, don't you?
I do remember. And also, though, but main thing is going back to Dead Souls, though. So, for right now, for all of you watching, currently the Dead Souls universe by itself has about, I would say, two and a half novels as of right now. But that is only the main Dead Souls line by
Yeah.
itself, which, honestly, though, I'm definitely excited for whenever the next book of this one does come out, hopefully later this year. But I have been liking how,
Oh, yes. And
let me finish though, but I will say though,
really quick, can I make a quick announcement?
go on.
So, um, we were talking about this. Dead Soul series book 3. I'm changing the publishing timeline on that, actually. It's not going to be published in October of this year because it's going to be published sometime in August to September, depending on when we finish in the beginning. Because I've been keeping y'all waiting too long and I am so sorry. Okay, continue.
But going back to that within the beginning, you have been talking about that one about how it's going to be essentially a massive lore dump of a book. And honestly, for myself, as a lore nerd,
Yes.
I am very hyped up about that because for me, I love it whenever you have world building books. For instance, a good example I would say would be George R. R. Martin's World of Ice and Fire, as well as the Fire and Blood prequel piece that he has written as part of a duology, because it really dives more into the history of the world that he has crafted. And with English vampires, that also adds to that little bit of history, but also giving character backstory. And as I have been seeing you talking about in the beginning, that is going to be the massive world building piece, which I myself am excited for as a person who loves deep lore and how it builds up to a world. But also, I will say, yes, the Dead Souls universe itself has been a bit of a jumbled mess, but with all the world building you have given, with all these different characters and series and whatnot, it definitely adds to the fact that the Dead Souls universe feels lived in with all these unique characters, as well as just how wide the world itself really is with its own individual stories. But in the beginning, I feel is going to be that massive building block that really sets up how deep the rabbit hole goes for this universe and just how much of the supernatural is embedded into the world, which to me, that actually reminds me of one of my new TTRPGs I've been getting into with World of Darkness, of how it's all a grim, dark fantasy
Okay.
world with various hidden elements all rolled into this modern setting. And I will say this much.
Do you want to know why?
Speaking of world building, though, let's talk your gray bricks here.
Ah, yes, my gray bricks. Love the name.
I mean, to be fair, you've basically got your multicolored bricks here with Dead Souls here, as well as the black brick with the English
So,
vampire.
yeah.
So I figured the gray bricks
So
would
the
work well
reason
for the
I
Dead Souls.
did So the reason I made the Shadow Soul series is because it was kind of the same reasoning as Korra, where you had all this stuff happening, and I didn't want to relegate it to just a few paragraphs of exposition. So basically, what happened was I finished Quinn, and I was just gonna, go. I was gonna just, hop right on over to Lucas and then, maybe give some exposition in Blood and Brains about what Quinn did after he went to the New World. Um, but then I was like, okay, hold up, hold up, hold up. We need to show what happens to Quinn in the New World because a lot happens and I need to give that the time it deserves. So I it was supposed to be one book. It was supposed to be one novel and it turned into five. It turned into five because I finished Shadow's Embrace. That was originally supposed to be like book three of Into the Darkness, and then Brothers in Blood would be book four. But then I realized, okay, we need to show more about what happened here with because basically at the end of the book you have a bunch of characters going off on their own to do their own thing, and I was like, I need to show this. I need to show what happens. So I did, and it became its own series. And Shadow's Triumph, which is going to be the final book in this series, is it's taking a little longer, but that's just because I got it done. I got it to my editor, and they were editing it. They were like, "Oh, this is pretty good." But my perfectionist brain was like, "This is not what I want. This is absolutely not what I want. I need to add something more to it." Um, so that's still in the works because it needs to be better. It can be better. It needs to be better. It will be better. Uh, but the other thing with these books is there's going to be callbacks to characters in this series in Lucas's backstory. So I believe in book three, Shadow's Vengeance, you get to meet. characters like Cliff. Cliff was very briefly mentioned in Death to the Soul when Lucas was talking a little bit about his backstory, but you're going to get to see Cliff in Shadow's Vengeance, and then you're going to get to see Cliff in Lucas's backstory. You're also going to get to see Sebastian, another vampire, um, that's going to be in Shadow's Vengeance and Lucas's backstory. So there's going to be a lot of overlap with these characters. I don't know how that's going to look in terms of like, collections, because what I might want to end up doing is I might want to make more collections with the all the characters from Lucas's backstory to kind of put it all together.
The
But
book.
yeah, it's it's a lot. It's a lot. I know it's confusing. I know it's a lot. Um, and I'm hoping that the collections will be able to help with that.
Yes, which currently, as of right now, folks,
But yes.
all of you watching, I'm currently up to Shadow's Vengeance in regards to the Shadow Soul series. I do have up to book four, though, with it, and I am very close to finishing Shadow's Vengeance
Jeez.
as of the time recording this video. Hopefully, I'll be able to get an interview out for it very, very soon, or a review, I should say. Following that up with Shadow's Allure.
What do you think so far?
Hmm?
What do you think of Shadow's Vengeance so far? Tell me your thoughts. Tell me your tell me your thoughts. What do you think of Shadow's
I'll try not to do too much here because I want to save that for the main review when it does come out.
Vengeance?
I will say, though, I am enjoying this.
Yeah.
The, the Shadow Soul series for me has been very much an up and down adventure because Shadow's Embrace was definitely more of a slow grind for me because I do understand that was more of a build up piece as well as expanding more on Quinn's backstory as a character. But Shadow's Reward, I
Hmm.
absolutely was very hyped up for this book whenever I dove back into it. And Shadow's Vengeance, I also feel the same that I'm going to be very driven into it, despite it being the smallest of the bunch, though. While I am a little bit slow with some of
Yeah.
these books as of right now, every little dip that I take back into this universe reminds me of just how gripping your stories can be. Because the few times that I've gotten really hyped up about your books and really wanted to dive in further was when it really focuses on characters. Such as, for instance, with Cora, that's how I really branched into Quinn's backstory and how I managed to finish it within 2 days. As for Shadow,
Oh yeah.
as for the
Oh
Shadow
yeah.
Soul
Side
series, it's
character.
been a up and down bit, but I've really enjoyed some of the characters in there. Thea has definitely been one of my favorites thus far, with her leading role in the Shadow's Reward book. Quinn was also really good in Shadow's Embrace, but again, that one was more of a crawl. Shadow's Vengeance, on the other hand, with all the different character
Yeah.
POVs, has been a definite fun ride. And I
Yeah.
am really excited to see how this
And
is
a lot
going to end.
Yeah. So a lot of the reasons why Shadow's Embrace seems to, be a little bit longer because I wanted to show the setup. Like a lot of times people like multiple times people will tell me that that book two in my series, whether it be the Dead Soul series, the Shadow Soul series, book two are the better books. And I kind of did this on purpose. Well, it I kind of did this accidentally on purpose um, because I use a lot of book one to just as like a setup. Because again, it feels like a lot of novels can be very rushed and there's not proper setup, so you can't get properly invested in the characters. It's like, oh, we're on chapter three, and these characters that I've barely known are in a perilous situation, and I feel nothing. I feel nothing for these characters. I don't care if they live or die. Um, so I mean, what I wanted to do is I wanted to like really establish who these characters are, make you care about them, and also just like establish the world. Um, because I don't want to like have that like be dragging down later books. It's still something I'm trying to you know, figure out in terms of like my writing style and where I want this narrative to go. But yeah, no, a lot of my first books are end up being very much like setup pieces for a bigger series, and that helps with pacing later on down the line. But So it's it's a lot.
It is a lot, but honestly, I have not regretted ever diving into this universe. And every single time a new book does come out for it, I get very, very hyped. But honestly, I am really excited for whenever Dead Souls 3 comes out. That way we can get more progress in the main series as well.
Oh yes.
I am really excited for those, but
Oh
also
yes.
exploring more of Lucas's backstory as well as in the beginning. And just honestly,
Oh yeah. And
for those of you who are also watching, though, believe me, the Dead Souls universe is only one of the major projects that this author has done. We're gonna have to do a whole bunch of different interviews at some point to really dive into some of their other works, or we might save that for a whole another long video of all their other pieces that they have done.
yes.
Dead Souls is just going to be the main focus of this interview. But with that being said, I think it's about
Yeah.
time we go
Do
ahead
you
and
want
wrap
to
up.
know why? Sorry.
Oh, sorry, go right ahead.
Aw. Can I say something really quick?
Go
So do you
ahead.
want to know why I'm writing in the beginning?
Go ahead.
Because I needed to keep this because I needed to keep the backstory of my universe straight for myself. It started out as just like, oh, I need to, keep the lore and backstories straight, but then it's like, oh crap, now I got another novel. So there's that. It's one of those accidentally on things. But I don't know. Maybe I'm a geek. I think that's pretty cool. I'm proud of it. Shut
Yes,
up.
I am very much as a lore nerd. Again, I am really psyched for whenever In the Beginning does drop, and I will be binge reading that sucker when it does come out. But with that being said, I think it's about time we go ahead and wrap all this up. Hopefully, you all enjoyed this little bit of insanity
Okay.
between me and this author here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Honestly, not a problem. This was
And Stitch thanks you too.
Once again, you all, thank you so much for listening and taking the time to watch this little interview. And if you really are curious about this author, there is an entire playlist that I've made of all their works if you want to watch them and really get to know more about this author. I guarantee, though, you will be in for a wild ride. And thank you all again for listening. And we'll see you all in the next video. And to all you fellow readers, take care.